Welcome back to another team preview. Today we're going to be looking at Petty GMS Racing. Yes, the Cup team. We already looked at the GMS truck lineup. I'm Casey Campbell. Of course, you know that's RJ Starcevic from the NASCAR Report on Instagram. How's it going?
Going good, man. Going good. Excited to continue some of these previews. We looked at GMS Racing the Truck Series team just a few days ago. Now we're going to jump into the Cup side.
Yeah, so if you haven't been keeping up with these previews, we looked at Front Row Motorsports a few days ago. We also looked at Joe Gibbs Racing on the Cup side. Haven't looked at the Xfinity side yet. You'll still need to get those details out there. So today we're going to be looking at Petty GMS. Lots of changes with that team. Obviously, that was formerly Richard Petty Motorsports until GMS decided to start a Cup team. Originally, they were just going to start a Cup team, and then they were just going to be two separate entities. But another big surprise is when GMS purchased Andrew Murstein's majority stake in Richard Petty Motorsports. And then obviously the team was announced as Petty GMS, now a two-car team, Ty Dillon and Eric Jones. Ty Dillon in the 42, Eric Jones in the 43. So this is kind of a new year, a new team, boost in performance, I see.
Yeah, I could definitely see a boost in performance. And you look at two teams that came together, and GMS Racing looking to buy in Richard Petty Motorsports as an organization. We're looking to do something, kind of change up their program. And, here they are. They both kind of GMS Racing buys into Petty. Now it's Petty GMS Racing, and now kind of a two-car organization. Eric Jones has someone to lean on in the number 43 car. Ty Dillon in the number 42 has someone to lean on. Jones in the 43. So two-car organization, both running for Chevy. They're going to have, obviously their alliance with each other, but it works out. GMS Racing, they paid a lot to get in. We've seen how much these teams are paying to get in the Cup Series nowadays. They paid them a lot. And I'm sure it looks like both sides are very happy with the decision, and I'm sure it's going to pay off in the long run.
Yeah, I think to continue the 43, I can't remember a time when NASCAR did not have the 43. It's important to not just for the Petty family, but for NASCAR to have that number in that series. But they also have the 42 back, of course. Obviously that was Lee Petty's number, and to get that back, obviously when Chip Ganassi Racing closed the NASCAR side of things, they were able to get the 42 back. So the 42 is still around.
42 is still around, and Ty Dillon's going to be the driver of that car. And a lot of people were confused kind of when GMS Racing had initially announced who they were going for their driver. Like a lot of people were listing off all the free agent options and the people without rides for next year. And honestly, I looked at it and thought one factor that could have been the decision. Ty Dillon, number one, is one of those young veterans that has a lot of experience in NASCAR. But also, I looked at the testing aspect, because you notice that drivers that were already with teams last year weren't allowed to test for other teams. Ty Dillon, being a free agent, just hanging around, they were able to bring him in, and he was able to do probably a lot of valuable testing towards the end of last year. While that may not matter a ton since they've had the offseason to test a lot of things out, I thought that could have been one of the factors, being Ty Dillon was kind of just a free agent out there. Bring him in, doesn't have to worry about, coming from another team, could do all the testing they needed last year. And one of those young veterans. And it kind of fits with Eric Jones as well. Young veteran, been around the sport for a while, but still very young and can definitely make some things happen. So I'm looking forward to it.
Exactly right. Let's talk about Eric Jones last year. Of course, this was his, first year with what was then known as RPM. Now he's got a little bit more support. Remember that Focus Factor sponsorship that's going to sponsor a lot of those races? Yeah, it still goes over there. It's a big deal. Of course, obviously they knew about what was going on before it was announced before that deal was there. But yeah, it's a big deal. And what do you think about Eric Jones? Now he's got some. I don't want to say RPM was bad equipment, but it's now better equipment than it was last year.
Well, let's say start off first with impressive year last year, I think, for Eric Jones overall as a driver. What they were able to do as a team. We know that RPM is not going to have the best equipment. They haven't over the past few years. and in recent memory. But we knew Eric Jones was a driver of talent. We know he's been at the top teams and has now kind of had to accumulate himself to being at a little bit of a smaller team. Was just at a 4-car powerhouse organization. Now, converted himself to a 1-car, single car, lesser funded organization at Richard Petty Motorsports. And I think very solid year. I mean, the finishes they were able to rack off, I mean, just clean races sometimes in the point of the season were just really good for them. I mean, they were running in the top 10 at some points towards the end of the year. They really started coming on towards the end of the year. I really noticed. And a lot of the 750 horsepower tracks he was able to be strong at as well, showing off his talent behind the wheel. So now we look at, a new playing field for the next gen. We got a new fresh start for them with GMS Racing joining them, with Ty Dillon joining the team. Definitely bright things. I think Eric Jones can do a lot. We've seen the talent of Eric Jones as a driver in the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series and the Cup Series, and even new playing field, I should say, for next year. I think all the momentum can be in Eric Jones' hands.
Let's talk about Ty Dillon for a second. He was a lot of places last year.
Oh yeah.
Of course, after Germain Racing closed down after the end of the 2020 season, Ty did not have a ride for the 2021 season. He was everywhere. He was, of course, with the Gaunt brothers. Then he was with Our Motorsports for some races. Now he's back in the Cup Series with a really good opportunity, and probably one of the best opportunities he's had in the Cup Series in a long time, or ever.
Yeah, I definitely think this is probably the best opportunity he's had, being where he is in his career. And he even admitted himself that he didn't think he would get an opportunity like this ever again. I mean, when he came straight out of the Xfinity Series for Richard Childress Racing, gets put in a Germain Racing car in the 13, which was RCR affiliated, but not, up to par as what the RCR cars were. And now he gets to hop in a race car, a brand new team in a way with GMS. And I know they have the confidence in him, bringing him in as their driver to have a very strong season. He's an experienced driver. I think he's still going to be learning. But yeah, a guy last year that hopped around from Joe Gibbs Racing. He was at Orr Motors. He finished off the season in a truck for Brett Holmes' team. He was a lot of places, and now he's got a home this year. He didn't think he'd be back here again, but he's got a home, a full-time ride in the NASCAR Cup Series, the Premier Series for next year. So Ty Dillon, I think, could have a very impressive year.
Of course, Ty was going to be part of the original GMS team before they announced that they were going to purchase RPM.
Yes.
Now let's talk about the whole broad scope. Of course, new crew chief for Ty Dillon, a very, very unknown name. Can't think of it right offhand. And then the 43, Dave Ellens, of course, who was Gregson's crew chief for several years. He's going to be Eric Jones's crew chief at the Petty GMS team. Overall, let's talk about this team as a whole. What do you think they're going to be like? What do you think they're going to do?
Well, I think crew chief wise, that was definitely a very interesting move. We knew Jerry Baxter was the crew chief of the 43 for the last few years, and I thought he was pretty solid. I think he definitely made some strides with the team, and Jerry Baxter's had a good history of being a solid crew chief in NASCAR. Now we bring over Dave Ellens from Junior Motorsports, comes over to Richard Petty Motorsports, going to crew chief for Eric Jones. And I think that's not a bad move either. I think they definitely have a chance to have some success, but the overall broad aspect of the team, I'm not looking for anything major next year, not, a big splash in the Cup Series, but I definitely am going to look for improvement out of the 43 team. For sure, with Eric Jones, like I'd kind of mentioned, even like more of a newer playing field next year. We saw strength out of Eric Jones last year. I'll still have to see some questions will still have to be answered with Ty Dillon not being in the Cup Series for a while. I don't really know what to expect, but for Eric Jones coming off his first season with RPM, I think I would expect some good runs for Eric Jones. I mean, potentially somebody that could win himself into the playoffs. He's been a guy that's been able to win those big races. He's won at Daytona. He's won at Darlington. Could Eric Jones be somebody to play spoiler some point in the season, or will it not be considered a spoiler? Will he have a very good, consistent season? I think definitely higher in the points than he was last year, but new playing field. It's so hard to really predict what to expect, but I expect good things.
Of course. Well, that's going to do it for this team preview, Petty GMS. Of course, other team previews with all my preview show friends will be throughout the course of this the off season? Because it feels like getting ready to go for a lot of that stuff. So
We're ready.
yeah, it is. All right. We'll talk to you later.